Hey, how you doing there again, folks? Me again, of course, Brandon Wenzel. Come back at you with another confession of my Concert Confession series. Yes, indeed, folks, Concert Confessions is a vlog series I've been doing for a little while now. I go over there, I talk about concerts and other live musical events that I've recently attended. It's an opportunity for me to go over there and confess my concert sins, to recount my recreational revelries, and to muse over my musical misadventures. It's basically just an opportunity for me to go over there and stand on a soapbox and say, look at these cool things that I did. But we'll get to that. Folks, it's super simple format. I'm going to yammer on about it for a bit. Whilst I do so, I'm in my back room today, which means we get Peter Can Thunderbolt poster over here. Peter Can Thunderbolt poster. Whilst I'm doing all that, folks, I am doing something else. What is it? I'm wearing a super cool shirt. Folks, when I wear super cool shirts, I always like to highlight the super cool shirt. What super cool shirt am I wearing for you today? Happens to be my brand new Edge of Paradise shirt. Yeah, I love this design. And it's the tour shirt. If you watch my Concert Confession series, thank you, by the way, appreciate that. You'll know that I tend to go over there, I try to whenever possible, try to wear a shirt from the previous band that was featured in my last episode of Concert Confession. So in this case, the last episode that I did, episode 27, is featuring the band Edge of Paradise. They're an incredible band out of California who've actually been at it for quite a while now. I ran into their stuff earlier this year in 2025 when they were on tour with a band called Delane. And then just recently, literally last night, they were on tour with a band called Love Bites. I love their stuff. I think they're incredible. I've actually got some videos of their performances I've attended. Those videos are on my channel in case maybe you want to check them out. If nothing else, I'd be more than happy to point you in the right direction as far as their music is concerned, because I think they're absolutely incredible. But what are we doing here, folks? What are we talking about today? What's going on? Well, this is Concert Confessions, episode 28, but this isn't me talking about a concert. Well, not exactly. It's me talking about the fact that last night when I saw Love Bites and Edge of Paradise, it was my 200th concert. So this is just going to be me basically kind of talking about some of my concert history, where I started, where I'm at, kind of what the future holds, I guess. So, 200 shows. And here's the thing. Is 200 a significant number in any reality? No, it's an arbitrary bullshit number. It doesn't mean anything. And at the end of the day, you know, the best show that you go to is usually the last show that you went to anyway. In this case, is my 200th show. But I have to admit, this was kind of extra cool for me. I hit 100 shows a few years ago, and, you know, that was a big moment for me, man. I was like, you know, because you gotta understand, I didn't even start going to shows until I was already out of high school. You know, I didn't have money, a job, a license, a car. I didn't have anything to really go out and go do this stuff, you know, let alone permission from my folks. So when I finally, you know, got to a point where I was old enough to make a few decisions for myself, kinda, and I had a little money, not really, and I had friends who had cars and licenses, one of the things that I wanted to do was I wanted to go out to shows, because I'd always been a big music fan. And so, you know, the first show that I ever went to was for 9 Inch Nails with my friend Drew. It was at a college of all places, and I'll do an entire episode on my first concert experience at some point. But that was what sparked it, man. That was just my friend Drew. He literally used these words. I'll never forget it. After the show, I got out and, you know, we're yammering on, and, like, I was gushing like fucking crazy. He specifically said, he's like, you had a euphoric look on your face throughout that entire performance. And yeah, man. And that's the thing, man. That's what sparked it and ran with it. You know, I always knew even before going to my first show that I wanted to go to shows. I wanted to experience the music that I love so much in that, you know, in that live format, you know, to feel it radiating and, like, So when, you know, once that first one happened, I tried to take every opportunity that I could to get out to shows, but it was difficult, which sucked because that would have been a great time for me to go to shows because so many bands that I like were still active and doing stuff at the time. But again, I was a shitty, like just out of high school kid. I didn't have any money. I didn't have, a fucking car or anything. So, like, I had to kind of rely on my friends whenever I could convince them. And for a while, that worked out fine. But eventually, you know, they had other obligations. I always, I didn't always have money to do, so it was, it was what it was. And the big turning point for me really came in like my early 20s. I think I was 22 specifically at the time. Uh, I was trying to get friends. Like by this point, I actually had like, like a license and a car and stuff. So, but I was trying to convince my friends to go to a show for a band called Texas Hippie Coalition. There'd been some interest, but like, that was the thing. I would always get interest from people, but then like, by the time things would come around, either people wouldn't get back to me or, they'd have other plans or what have you. And I'd end up missing out on a show because I was waiting on them. That specific show was the first time when I was like, I'm going to go to this show. If any of you would like to come with me, great, but I'm going come hell or high water. And that was the turning point when I was just like, it's okay for me to go to shows by myself. Now that I have a car, I have a license, I have a little bit of money, I can go do these things of my own volition. And if other people want to join me, great. If not, And subsequently, I have gone to, I would say, probably 95% of the shows that I've gone to solo. So I do, and that's another episode I want to do at some point, is talking about going to shows by yourself. But I love my friends. I love getting to spend time with them. It's great getting to have them in social settings. But I have to admit, as time has gone by, I really have become very accustomed to going to shows by myself, kind of making my own schedule. And so for me, going to this 200 show, it's like again, I love my friends and stuff. I wouldn't have been able to do this if it weren't for the fact that, this is what I wanted to keep doing. I make the joke, some people start families, they, do that whole thing. I go to concerts, and I'm not saying that's the right or the wrong way to do things. It's just what I do. But yeah, man. So, after that was really the whole turning point for me. And like my concert output went from, I thought when I started, I was at a pretty respectable rate. We're going to, show every few months or something like that. In the first year or so that I went to shows, I think I had like 6 or 7 or something, maybe 5 sometimes, but it was a starting point. This year, 2025, this particular show, number 24, is my 26th concert that I've gone to this year, and I've still got over a month left in the year. So yeah, I love it, man. And here's the thing. And again, this is something I want to talk about in a dedicated episode. Do you become somewhat jaded? Yes. Yes, you do. The fact of the matter is, the first run of shows that I went to were obviously at a very different point in my life. I was younger. I didn't have aches and pains. I didn't have all the anxiety and, weight of the world on my head that I do sometimes being an adult. All I had to worry about was just going to the show and being with my friends and experiencing it. That was wonderful. And of course, some of the spectacle does start to wear off, like first time you go to see a show and like one of your favorite bands is literally right here. Oh my God, it blows your fucking mind. And by number 200, you're like, yeah, no, that's cool. It's still awesome. But, I've seen it happen other times. But at the same time, for one thing, you take other things away from it. Like I was saying, dealing with having more stress and more responsibilities. It is nice going to a show and having that melt away, for a night, or a weekend or what have you, in a way that, when you're a kid, you got your own shit when you're a kid too, but it's definitely a different feeling. Um, and beyond that, just like being, smarter and wiser, being able to buy merch because I have money now. Not a lot of money, but some money. Uh, so it's cool, like in its own way. Like I said, some of the luster does get lost a little bit, but it's really, at least for me, and I understand, hey, I'm the outlier, right? Most people do stop going to concerts, or at least, mostly stop going. Even my friend Drew. Maybe once every few years we go to a show together because he has a wife and adorable daughter, and that's his life now. No fault on him. That's great, man. I think his family's amazing. Um, for me personally, it's like, I just, like I said, I wanted to walk a different path, and, I'm not saying it's been brilliant the whole time. It sure as shit has not, but at the same time, I'm not unhappy with the experiences that I've accumulated over the course of my, almost 40 years now. And here's the thing, going back to what I was talking about at the beginning, talking about, 200 being an arbitrary number. The thing was, after I hit my 100th concert, I made a goal for myself. I wanted to get to 200 before I hit 40 years old. And again, it's just an arbitrary number. It means nothing. But I was like, especially, again, that was several years ago before worrying about 40 was even something I was all really really on my mind all that much. But it was a thing of like, well, I'm getting older, blah, 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 blah. So when I hit that 100 and I was like, all right, try to get to 200 before 40, everything was going on a pretty good kick. Then 2020 hit. That fucked up a lot of stuff, really threw me off. 2021 was a little bit of a rebound, but, still dealing with obviously ramifications of the pandemic and stuff. So, you know. So there was kind of a point where like I didn't know if I was going to be able to make it happen. Even as early as this year, I was like, okay, well, I'm on a pretty good track. I genuinely figured that I would probably get to my 200th show sometime in my very early days of being 40. I figured it would be next year sometime. But this year, to a lesser extent last year and the year before that, have really been good years for shows for me, and I just belted it out, and it wasn't like an intentional, like, I have to get to 200, blah, 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 I'm going to go to every show that no, I was still going to shows that I wanted to go to. That's always the fucking case, numbers aside. But it was just one of those things where, like, this year, man, just I found so many great bands, so many older bands that I like started coming back. It's like if you're into like sort of alternative metal and stuff like that, right now is a really good fucking time because you have a lot of good bands coming up and a lot of older bands coming back around. And I've had this really cool mix this year of like getting to see bands like Snot and Spineshank come out and fucking kill it after not doing stuff for years, and then also getting into bands like fucking South Arcade, Grandson, Edge of Paradise, these bands that are, in some cases not that new, but newer. And getting to not only like be, have these new experiences and stuff, but also get to meet new fans and to kind of become like, yeah, I'm not the kid that I was. I can't really mosh around or, even really jump up or down very well these days. But I get to be kind of an elder statesman, which is cool. Like I get to, kind of go over there and, I can talk with some of the younger folks and, kind of, and I like that. It's kind of its own reward. Um, but so yeah, hitting 200 was a thing. It was a goal that I really wanted to hit, and it was something that, again, I didn't know if it was going to happen exactly when I wanted it to happen, but it ended up happening before that. I didn't think I was going to get to 200 before the end of 2025, but here the fuck we are. And to that end, like I said, I did do an entire Concert Confessions episode about my 200th show, Edge of Paradise and Love Bites. But just as like a quick recount, it was incredible. And I'm so happy. Like, there are certain bands or artists that I would have loved to have been my 200th show. You know, like Nine Inch Nails. Nine Inch Nails was my first show, and Nine Inch Nails is my favorite artist. But I did get to see Nine Inch Nails twice this year, so I can't be mad at that. My 100th show was a favorite artist of mine called Mega Ran. I would have loved for him to have been my 200th, you know, have that thing. But I've seen him twice this year too. So coming into, you know, Edge of Paradise and, you know, Love Bites and stuff, there was part of my brain a little bit that was like, you know, is this 200th show worthy? But then I was like, that's a jackass way to look at anything. Because again, I just want to go to the show. It doesn't fucking matter what actual number it is. But then on top of that, yeah, absolutely it was. It was fucking incredible, man. It's like why, you know, sometimes you get a little bit of a separation, right? You know, it'd been a while since I'd seen Edge of Paradise, you know, early in the year when I first saw him. Holy shit, were they incredible. And fucking then Love Bites were incredible. And I'd never, you know, and in some ways it was kind of perfect that this was my 200th show because, you know, yeah, it wasn't Nine Inch Nails or Mega Ran or something like that, but like it was me going over there, you know, getting to experience Edge of Paradise again, this band that I got into, you know, just months prior, you know, got to see them for the first time. And then who were a band that I came into, you know, I found them through going to a show. And then also getting to see Love Bites, who were a band that I'd never fucking heard of, and now I get to experience at the show. So, yeah, man, it just... Can you tell them? Yeah. And that's the thing, you know? Like, I love it, man. It's... Like I said, it changes and stuff, you know? And, like I said, I'll talk about the future in just a second. But, like, you know, it obviously changes. You know, you have to prep differently and stuff and everything, but I'm really happy that despite everything that's occurred in my life, and honestly, in some ways because of it, you know, that I've been able to keep doing this stuff because going to shows for me, as much as I just love it, you know, it's just an experience that I love. Music has always been therapy for me, and especially the last few years with some of the stuff that I've dealt with, you know, losing both of my parents, other health issues within the family, personal issues, all that, you know, professional issues, just, yeah, I've needed music more than ever. And that's probably, not even probably, that's the main reason why in these last few years I really did amp up the amount of shows that I was going to because I kind of needed it. You know, I needed that release. And, you know, getting to hit 200, you know, it was a little something extra special for me to go for. But here's the thing. You hit 200, Brandon. What do you do now? Where do you go from here? Are you aiming to hit 300? I mean, look, I'd love to hit 300. I don't know that I will. And a main reason why is because, talking about the future again, in the upcoming years, you know, basically starting with 2026, I'm kind of allowing myself a little bit of leeway to the end of 2025. I am intending to, sadly, dial back my concert attendance pretty significantly. Not because I want to, or even because my body can't take it. Like, I can still hold up pretty damn well. A lot of it just comes down to needing to really focus on other things in my life, whether they be financial, professional, personal. There's just a lot of things that I have been consistently pushing to the back burner. And in the meantime, I've been going to shows or conventions or things like that. And I love doing that, but those aren't solutions to the problems. They're just, you know, easing the anxiety and the problems that come with those problems. And I need to go over there, you know, I need to start really kind of focusing on those things. I mean, if I go over there and if I just fall ass backwards into a shit ton of money, then yeah, absolutely. You know, fuck it, man. I'll just, you know, solve all my fucking problems, well, problems I can solve with money, and I'll just keep going to shows. If you went over there and just like, Brandon, you never have to work a day in your life, you're financially set, but I just go to concerts, conventions, eat really good food, and hang out with my friends all the time. It's the fuck I would do. But that's pretty unlikely. So, my intention is to go over there, and I'm still going to go to shows. I have at least one show right off the bat that I'm intending to go to next year, as well as potentially, you know, one or two others that I'm sort of looking at. But I know it is one of those things where I'm going to have to start making those decisions, you know, probably not going to 2 shows a month, maybe not going to one show a month. And that's going to suck because, like, I definitely go through concert withdrawal and, like, I don't like not going to shows. But, again, you know, as much as I don't like not going to shows, it's like, well, bills and other things that I need to really focus on and home improvement stuff, you know, and things that realistically I should have taken care of years ago, but these are the things I need to focus on now. So, you know, again, like there's still going to be concert uploads. I'm still going to do concert confession episodes. Just probably going to be, again, unless somebody just wants to give me a shit ton of money, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But that said, I'm fully intend to go to shows for as long as my body can fucking hold out. There's comedian Brian Posehn who had a joke talking about, you know, metal till he's 60, but then admitting that, you know, he probably wasn't even going to keep doing it until he was 40. I'm going to keep doing it when I'm 40. I'm going to go for as long as I can go with it, man. You know, I've been to shows. Hell, I was the show that I was at, Edge of Paradise, man. There were some properly old folks in there. No offense, not trying to, you know, but they were old. And like you know, but at the same time, hey, it can't be concerts all the time. Obviously, you gotta focus on stuff, and some point you gotta try to be a semi, you know, responsible adult. And that's kind of how things are gonna go for me this upcoming year. You know, provided I can convince myself to stay the course. We'll see. But yeah, so that's my overall on this whole thing. You know, 200 shows. You know, I think I was 18 or 19 when I went to my first show. I think I was 18, but it's been so damn long. You know, decades of doing it and meeting incredible people and having incredible experiences and just, I mean, you know, again, some people have families, some people do that stuff. I go out to concerts. Now maybe, you know, with me refocusing my attention stuff, who knows, you know? I'm a little bit older, but I'm not old. I'm close. You know, maybe the family thing isn't, you know, out of the question at this point. Maybe I can balance the two things. But anyway, yeah, I just wanted to go and have this little chat here with this whole thing because, again, this was a genuinely pretty momentous, you know, feeling for me. It's something that I literally still have the adrenaline running through my veins, even though, you know, it's been essentially an entire day since then now. It's just, every time I think about it, I'm like, yes! Anyway, I don't have a good outro for the Concert Confession series, but folks, please go over there, support your local music scene, support live music. If you go out to live music, please buy merch. It is so important to those artists. I'm not saying don't, you know, like Spotify, what have you, you know, but if you want to really support them, buying a CD, buying a shirt, you know, buying a piece of merch is 800 million times better than fucking listening to their shit on Spotify or any fucking music streaming platform, you know. You know, do what you need to do, but, and, you know, hey, if you go out to shows, be good to your neighbors, all that good stuff, and, you know, who knows, maybe I'll see you at my 201st concert or something. Anyway, bye!